right, we have covered triangles. Now we're moving into circles. So when we're trying to determine the area of a circle, you might have a circular garden and you want to know how much mulch goes into the circle. You need to know how much area you're going to be covering. So real world scenarios with these kind of things you can definitely use. So looking at the reference sheet that was sent to you, area equals pi r squared is the area formula for a circle. Okay. Something that you need to make sure that you know is pi is always going to be represented as 3.14. So anytime that you see pi, you can use the pi button on a calculator if you have a scientific calculator, or just type in 3.14. I tend to just use 3.14 because I'm 90% of the time on my phone calculator and it's just a little bit easier. If you are on an iPhone, you can always switch it to scientific. And let me see if it's on there. Yeah, it does have a pi button right before the division sign on the scientific one on your iPhone. And then you've got R, that means radius. So we need to make sure that we know what radius is. And I'm just going to give you a little drawing right here. Radius is going to be from the middle out. So the radius is the halfway point across the circle. The diameter, because sometimes these problems are going to give us a diameter is all the way across. So the way that I remember that is diameter is a whole lot longer than radius, right? Like the word is very long. So it has to have the long line across to be able to go across the circle, where radius is just halfway across. Okay, so the shorter word is the shorter part, if that helps. So all we're going to do, it tells us here that the circle's radius is 8 kilometers. So that means my r squared is going to become 8 squared. What is the circle's area? So we're going to have pi 8 squared. Okay. Well, again, when things are side by side, that means to multiply. So we need to make sure we always do the exponent first. Okay. Don't think that this is 16. If you need to rewrite this, you could do it this way as well. Pi times 8 times 8, if that helps. 8 squared means 8 times itself, right? So it's 8 times 8 times pi. And I'm just going to put 3.14 in my calculator. And that gets me 200.96. And this is going to be kilometers squared. Okay. So if I were to figure out how many bags of mulch I would need for my circular garden, I would have to be able to say, okay, well, the bags cover how many kilometers squared, and then figure out how many is going to work for what I need. So I'm going to come in here and just put in 200.96. It says label required. So KM and then the squared button right here. And there we go, because area is always squared. And again, the reason for that is if we were on a grid paper, my poorly drawn circle here means that I would end up with 200.96 squares if we counted up all the squares inside that space. Okay. So that's why it needs to be squared. And it won't count you wrong if you forget. It just will tell you, like, hey, don't forget your label. All right. Ivy is baking cookies. The radius of each cookie is 2 centimeters. Gave us the drawing here. Love when it gives us visuals. What is the area of each cookie? So again, if you need to know how many cookies are going to fit on the sheet, you could do the math. So you're going to have 3.14 times 2 times 2. Right? So 2 times 2 is 4. And then in my calculator, 3.14 times 4 gets us 12.56 centimeters squared. So again, if we know that the area of the cookie sheet, because it usually tells you, is 20 centimeters squared, then you could quickly decide how many cookies you could make on that sheet instead of guessing. 12.5 centimeters, hit this button down here, squared. Okay, nice units, but your number is incorrect. Okay, because I didn't put the 5/6. Let's see. Oh no, it says round to the nearest tenth. So 5/6 becomes 0.6. That's what I get for not reading, right? So make sure you round your answers as it tells you. This one here, Okay, it says she's making a pizza. So again, I'm going to draw a quick pizza. The diameter, so all the way across, is 6 inches. What is the area of the pizza? Okay, so my formula is pi r squared. So if the diameter is 6, we need to find half of that, right? So half of 6 is going to be 3. So we're going to have pi times 3 times 3. So that's really the biggest thing. Make sure you read that it said diameter, which means we have to find half of the diameter to get the radius, because r is what's in our formula. So that's going to be 28.26. This says round to the nearest tenth. So 2 is in my tenths place. The number behind it is 5 or bigger. So I'm going to bring this up 1. So it's going to be 28.3. What is this? Inches squared. Okay. So big thing there, make sure you pay attention to, is it giving me diameter or is it giving me radius? Okay. Again, this one here is giving me radius. And it says it's 4 miles. So that's going to be pi 4 times 4. Right? Plug that in, get you your answer. And then that one gives me radius. This one gives me diameter. Okay. So again, if I'm going to draw it, that means all the way across this 8, half of that is going to be 4. So that's, again, is going to be pi 4 times 4. Okay. So if you need any help, let me know. Other than that, 10 points, get more math.